some DJI. I've got some DJI Mini stuff for like car content. I'm gonna start using those for this because I figured out you could connect them to Bluetooth, which is dope. Oh, how do you make it not show on Discord who's talking? I forget how to do that.
Oh, the overlay. You have it's in you go to user settings and game overlay in the activity settings, and you got to turn it off.
Okay.
I think Shoemaker's coming.
Okay.
Game over there. Yeah, get the fuck out of here. Just don't like it. Yeah, I know they did that for an update, and I was like, whoa, 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 what is this? Like, get
Yeah.
out of my way.
Right.
I hate it.
Settings. 25S2 are open. Why? Okay. Whatever. I'll run it all set up. It can't be too bad.
Pit lane speed limit is 72 kilometers per hour. Looks like you're clear on the pit exit.
I have to look at my other info. This is bullshit.
Oh, where are my ship lights? Dundee. Oh, weird. What? So for the other cars I've driven so far, the wheel has automatically inputted what car I was driving into SimHub
Yeah.
for my shift lights, but it didn't do it for this one.
That's weird.
Yeah.
It sounds clear, but you're quiet.
How about now?
There you go.
Alright, I'm ready. Who's even a port? I need to share the setup. Nobody. limits, please, Mike.
What'd you say, Scott?
Good for you. At 3.1K.
I've kind of been around here for a little while.
Well, have you?
Yeah.
I got myself up to about almost 1,800, not quite, and then dropped back down. Laguna Seca is just beating the shit out of me. I might stop racing there.
Yeah.
No.
Yeah, I was watching Basic Ollie stream this morning, and he tried to do a race there, and that didn't go well for him. Well, it was until it wasn't, which I think is about the summary of that race.
Yeah, I was a menace to a couple people last night. I feel a little bad.
Your quickest overall. Yellow flag.
Honestly, ever since I upgraded my computer, it's been so great. Ryan, how did your computer work out? What'd you do? Just grab a motherboard?
Well, yeah, new motherboard. So I actually, somebody had a 5070 build for sale on Facebook.
Yep.
And I was thinking about getting it, and I looked at his location, and he was the apartment complex next to mine.
Oh, jeez.
So I hit him up, and I was like, "Hey, man, this is what's going on. Here's where I'm at. My AOI took a dump. AIO, whatever. And he's like, oh, bring it by. If I can fix it, or if I can't fix it, it'll be free. We'll just get you that new one. And if I can fix it, then let's just get those parts in and go from there." So my boy, oh my goodness, what was his name? I don't know. Hispanic guy, really broken English, but new computer's amazing. Tested everything on Sunday, like same day. Got it fixed. I dropped it off at 2 o'clock. Had it back at 5. It was awesome. So he was
Wow.
great.
Nice.
New motherboard. Switched from an AIO to a nicer air-cooled system. It's honestly running cooler now than it was before, which is good. And yeah, so we're probably gonna jump over to a new graphics card pretty soon. But did not need a new computer, so that was good.
Yellow flag.
Nice. Scott, are you here with us?
think so.
Yep.
My truggy's on the way.
Nice.
Woo.
War condolences.
Yeah, I know. It's more of a, kind of hang out with my buddies type of thing.
Yep.
Oh.
Anybody else hopping on?
I'm not sure. I thought Adam was supposed to be here.
What's everyone say?
And Gabe and Felix.
I doubt they'll be around because they're in the wrong. They're probably asleep right now.
That's a good point.
I want to say maybe Kenny said he might stop in, but probably not till later.
We can start, you know, and just record it for everybody. And
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I've been recording for a few minutes here, so.
I see. So, do you want to bring up your screen, or just like meet all the cars on like a turn that you want to kind of describe your thought process on? Because I'm really curious how you guys think.
Yeah. So what do you kind of mean by that question? Think about what specifically?
All right, so I'll tell you
There's a
what.
few different aspects.
Exactly, and that's the whole thing. What are the aspects? What are you like? How far in advance are you preparing for your next turn? Is number one. What are you thinking of when you're preparing for that particular turn? What are you looking at? And more importantly, well, are you thinking to yourself, I need to get my right tire to this particular spot? I'm looking at the maximum rotation point. What are you thinking about when you're getting into, whatever turn you want to talk about?
Yeah, those are good questions. So obviously, first one's a little bit of car behavior, basic mechanics of what the car feels like at any point through a corner.
Mhm.
Starting, I'd say easiest is just going kind of just through a corner. First thing, obviously, we're looking for a braking point. We know where to brake, about how hard to brake, and what we expect, what technique we're expecting to use, whether that's a threshold braking or a lighter form on the beginning just to get the car settled.
Now, I
And
would
then,
imagine. Go ahead.
oh, you're good. No, you're good.
I would imagine a lot of that stuff is by rote because you've done this, particular course, 100 times in preparation for a race. So you already know I'm going to do some threshold braking here, and then I'm going to let
Right.
off to 50%, and then I'm going to trail brake for the rest of this. I'm going to hit 60%, whatever it may be.
Just kind of
So that's
based on what corner type it's going to be too. You know that if it's a hairpin, you're going to have a heavy braking zone. Probably going to have straight line, heavy braking, threshold braking, trail brake as you turn the wheel to get the car rotated.
right. Where
Whereas
are
if
you looking? So let's
looking,
go. If we do this, everybody, let's go to like actually the hairpin.
sure.
Pit exit's clear.
Because that's a really good corner to start with, I think.
Incident in.
So coming into the
Looks like
hairpin,
Murphy. Yellow
obviously
flag.
coming out, leading up to it, take your normal
On
line.
your right.
Just coming into the hairpin, I'm looking
Hold your
at my
line.
braking point already as I get out. So
Clear
for
right.
this one,
So right there, you just looked at your braking point. You slowed down.
Yep.
Actually, we're gonna all go here. I want you to do this in slow motion. Come back
There's
around
an
here,
incident
Mike.
in the hairpin. Looks like
Ryan.
it's Kircher. Yellow flag. Watch out.
I got disqualified.
Oh my god.
Oh no! Where can I undisqualify him?
Admin something maybe?
Is that under options? How do you get to the
You can
race?
right-click on his name and the entries, I think.
Oh, thanks.
did speed in the bits on the way out, so that was probably it too.
They were already
No,
getting it.
it was it was more the driving backwards on the track part.
It was definitely the Valkyrie. Are you good, Ryan?
Yeah, I'm good now. Thank you.
All right, pal.
All right, making my way back around.
I'm coming.
So like if I'm since I'm here, if I'm doing this in slow motion, like I'm coming down the straightaway, like the first thing I'm looking at is the cones because that's what I'm judging my braking point based off of. And then obviously like it's a really hard like threshold braking into here. And then as you get to like the last cone, now my eyes are looking at the curb on the inside because that's where I want my car to go. And also for me, like this corner is really annoying because I'm paying extra attention to the curb on the inside to try to get my car down there.
So that's what you're trying to do. Is you're not trying to go around the curb. You are trying to point
yeah.
your car to the place that you want it to be, right?
Yeah,
Yeah.
and especially for this corner because this isn't like a straightforward like 180-degree hairpin. This is kind of like a awkward like off degree
Yeah,
kind
you
of
come out
thing.
straight.
And
Yeah.
so you really want to late apex this one. You can't like make a nice arc around it.
Yeah. So adding some depth to that, what you want to do if you're gonna on a deep level is once you learn the rotation point of your car and how you like it to rotate, I like to try to get it to rotate, and so that the peak rotation puts me on that curb, and then gives me a good exit. You know what I mean?
And-
So it's not just
and-
pointing it at the curb because you can point it and it'll go
Yeah.
there, but if you want to maximize the time, you want to maximize the grip all the way through it, get it to rotate so that way it sets you up for a good exit on the way out.
Yeah, it's
That's fascinating.
that's a much better way to explain what I was trying to say.
And it's
So
the
what
same.
you're
It's the same principle for every corner. It's just maximizing the grip of both the front and the rear tires through each stage of the corner, based on corner type.
Maximize it. Okay. So how do you think of that? What do you
So honestly, I've been improving about it recently, thanks to the shout out to Suelio, even though it's like been a marginal help. The thought process he has that helps me a lot was finding the understeer of the car and then finding the oversteer of the car, right? So as you start, your braking marker will be a little bit farther back. If you turn the wheel and the car will turn easily, then you still have more grip there. But as you bring your braking point closer and closer and closer to the apex of the corner, or deeper and deeper on the brakes, and you start turning, you might start losing grip as you're turning. So if you're turning and you're still going straight, obviously you've maximized the grip of the front. So that's why the sound is going to help you a lot on the sim, but in real life you'll feel it too. And kind of just finding that sweet spot of where the maximized grip of the front is, and then as that happens, it'll blend with the maximized grip of the of the rear on the way out too.
So Ryan, you did that thing where you purposefully oversteered into a corner, until you can do that purposefully, and then you purposefully understeered into a corner so you can do that purposefully, and then found the balance between the two.
Yeah,
of
I
those?
start with understeer. It's a little safer.
Okay.
Obviously, you'll still get around. Oversteer, you can lose it, or you'll just four wheels, just slide with all four wheels, and that's never good for anybody. But yeah, starting with understeer, making sure you're maximizing the grip of the front is going to save you a ton of time relative to everybody else.
Yep.
But yeah, just that corner threshold braking, find where the car wants to rotate at. You'll get to know that based on downshifts, brake bias, etc. It kind of changes all the time. Conditions, tire wear, but you'll get used to it. It's a car knowledge thing too.
So, yeah, and I hear Mike all the time saying, I loaded up the tires, and you can feel that shit.
Yeah, there's
you
like
feel-
so there's sort of like in like I sort of like watched like another like guy who does YouTube and iRacing is this guy called DJ EJ, and he does mostly oval stuff, but the way he talks about it, because he does a bit of coaching as well, is like you have the car loaded up in the corner, and like you're holding like you're trying, like say like you're holding, like you go around an oval corner and you're holding the wheel at like a constant angle, and like the point, like the rotation point is like when you're holding that angle, and then the car starts to turn back down the hill, that at that point you've reached the maximum rotation point, and like that's where you'd pick up the throttle on the oval to get out of the corner. And it's sort of like this. It's the same way around that hairpin. Like you're on the brakes really hard, and you're starting to turn in, and like as you're releasing the brake to get into the corner, you feel the car hit that maximum rotation point, and that's when you start to pick the gas up to get back out of the corner.
So maximum rotation point is pretty much your focus. That is, consciously what you're thinking of, what you're looking at is that maximum rotation point and how to get through there as quickly as possible.
Yeah,
For the most part.
yeah. Especially in corners like that where you're braking really heavy, and it's maybe a little bit more straightforward.
There's an incident in.
It sounds like a lot to think about, but once you feel it the first time of like, oh, this is where the car rotates, you just kind of know, and then it becomes subconscious.
Yeah.
Per corner or just in general? Because you guys have both said it's like per car, and I'm like, well, I'm an old man. I'm not going to remember. I don't remember what I had for breakfast. I'm not going to remember per car.
I mean, it's all generally the same.
Yeah.
There's going to be little tweaks here and there. Like I can jump in anything, and I relatively know how it's going to behave. That's just basic car mechanics.
Mhm.
Obviously, the differences between front engine, rear engine, and mid engine that's going to be your biggest differentiators because you physically have to drive the car differently.
Yep.
But for most car types, mid or rear engine, I'd say it's relatively the same.
So I think a good practice right here would be I'm going to kind of get out of my car and I'm going to go watch like a lap or two of Mike and a lap or two of Ryan, and just talk us through, what you're focusing on, what your next, you know what I mean?
Yeah, do it. And every corner has its own aspects and unique personalities of what you want to do, what you want to focus on, etc., what you're looking at. Just for the hairpin, obviously your main focus is going to be braking, rotating, and exit. That's kind of the same for everything. But like Sunset coming into it, my main focus is obviously braking point, find the grip, find where the rear is going to rotate, and then find where the limitation of the front is, and then hold that all the way through the corner.
I'm going to slow you. I'm going to slow you down a little bit because these are terms that a lot of people. No, that's okay. That a lot of people really are going to struggle with. Like, you just said going into Sunset, find the rotation point of the rear,
right?
And then find the rotation point of the front. I wouldn't know how to do that.
So rotation point of the rear. Have you ever if you get on the brakes and then get off the brakes, do you ever feel like the rear come around?
Right. It gets light on.
That's that's what I'm talking about. So you'll feel that.
Okay.
And then you'll carry that momentum of the rotation through the corner, and then as the corner changes, your phase of the corner changes, you're going to want to maximize the grip of the front to get you through it.
Okay, so you're
trying back to the rear on the way out because you don't want to spin your wheels on the way out. Not too much of an issue in GT3 cars, but in other stuff, yeah.
Yeah, but no. That really, so you're trying to bring the rear around, so you're making your brakes and your rear of the car do your steering for you, and then you're transitioning to, now I got to focus on the front to get me through. Okay, that's different. That's interesting.
And I'd maybe not exactly exactly the way to describe it. It's more like the entry of Sunset, like you're trying to just lean the car on the limit of the rears because that's what the limiting factor of that corner is.
That's a great term. Lean the car on the limit of the rears going in.
Everybody's going to think about it's like school. Everybody's going to think about it a little differently, and their little key in their mind is going to work for them. So
I understand what you're saying, but what I'm trying to do is for this video and for any of our Square drivers, or Ryan, if you want to use this, or Mike, in some of your coaching stuff, this is this terminology and the way of thinking is really going to help your students, and help you learn how to teach your students. So who wants to go first?
It looks like Ryan's winding up for a lap, and I'm watching him right now. So
I'm watching Ryan as well. So whenever you feel like talking, Ryan, and working us through a lap, go ahead.
Walk you through it. turn 1, Magnificence is hitting the braking zone, and I like to, a term I use a lot is getting the nose in. So getting the grip of the car onto the front, getting the weight in the front from the rear. So like here, emphasis, not super heavy braking, light braking, just to put the balance on the front, and then get the nose pointed towards the apex of the corner. Obviously, it's a little difficult to do, but that's kind of the idea.
Yep. I love this.
I like a sharp nose, something that I don't have to change weight too much to get the nose in. And then coming up here, heavy braking, looking at the cones already. Downshifting, already looking at the apex. I was even a little early, could be a little deeper. Then focusing on the exit.
The one thing I do notice is that your steering wheel has its maximum rotation at the maximum rotation point. And that's huge.
That's kind of the idea, yeah. This corner
Yep.
is interesting. Trail braking heavily to keep the nose balanced as it falls away from you. So that corner leans away from you a little bit, you'll lose a little bit of grip at the apex, so you want to keep trail braking to keep that weight in the front, to keep the grip towards the apex. Light braking here, mid to light braking here. The faster corner. Oh, yeah, butchered it. This whole section, you really don't need too much brake pressure at all.
That's also a section where like all those corners are sort of linked, so like you need to make sure you get the first one correct to get the rest of them correct.
Taking horrible lines through here.
Yeah, but I just learned something. And see, this is why this shit is so important, guys. You're using the brakes to dive the nose into the corner. That's what you said. And
Yep.
rotate the rear.
Ferrari understeers for days. Same thing
Yeah.
here, trying to keep the car behaved and rotating around the second apex. There's two curbs that stick out there, so I like to hit the second one.
Okay.
Try to get a nice rotation here. There you go. See, deeper on the brakes. Did a better job rotating. That was 2/10. Similar corner as far as what you want to emphasize right here. The hairpin in this one, actually.
You
Yep.
really went around that instead of, okay. So you late apex that quite a bit.
Yep. Yeah, that's another one where it's kind of a awkward, not straightforward 180.
Yep. This is the one he said falls away, so you have to be a little more careful on the in.
This one, I like to mount the curb. I messed it up again. You
Yeah,
don't
no.
have to mount it that much on the exit. I like to stay in the middle to lead into that, but I messed it up.
I'm more interested, not specifics of the track, but like
Yeah,
more
just
interested in
what
what
I'm
your brain
thinking.
is thinking. Yeah.
Yeah.
But it's also important to keep the track in mind, because a lot of especially for people trying to figure out how to go fast, like a lot of it is just using all of the track that's there and knowing how much of the track you can use.
So, what a statement, because that is my biggest curse is I don't know how to use all of the track at full, or as Suelio would say, and I love the guy, I think he's pretty good. Use all of the track while I'm on the edge.
Yeah, and say like turn 1 at Sebring was like that's an easy corner to figure out how to use all of the track, because you have a wall on the outside, a wall on the inside, and dirt on the outside. So you're
Yeah.
trying to like connect all those points. But other corners, like say like coming onto the backstretch at Sebring, it's maybe not so intuitive because there's a lot of like paved stuff around.
And you can, swing that left.
Yeah.
Make that last right. Yeah. So you're more so thinking of using your brakes in conjunction with the steering wheel to dive the nose into the turn, into the maximum rotation point. I like that.
You gotta think the brake will put weight on the nose, but not
Yep.
when you're turning. The more brake you have on while you're trying to turn is gonna take grip away because the tires are trying to do too much. So
Makes
that's the
sense.
purpose of trail braking.
That's beautiful. And one thing I noticed that you guys are able to do that I can't do, and I'm often late on it, is you're able to accelerate right out of the maximum rotation point.
Yeah, and that all has to do with the balance of the car mid corner and like what we're looking for.
Are you talking, when you talk about balance, now guys, I'm going to ask a ton of questions because I really want information here for everybody to be able to respond to. When you talk about balance, are you primarily talking about front to back balance? Are you, lateral balance, or somewhere in between, or yaw balance?
Yeah, I'd say mainly front to back. Kind of just for me, and like I said, everybody breaks it down a little differently. So for me, when I'm thinking about balance, I'm thinking about the limitations of that specific area. So when I want the balance on the nose, obviously I want to find where I'm emphasizing where the grip is on the front through that aspect of when I'm using it. When I want the balance on the back, I'm obviously trying to focus on maximizing the rear grip. So I mean, in acceleration zones, anytime you're on the throttle off the brake, obviously the balance is going to be more towards the rear, just kind of how the physics of it works. And then anytime you're on the brake, balance is going to be a little bit more towards the front as far as the weight goes. And the more weight that you have on either the front or the rear is going to affect how much grip that has. So it goes hand in hand with each other.
Sure. The more on the front, the less on the rear. Brake bias, all that.
Brake bias you can get into. It's honestly, I've barely even started tweaking with it a little bit. I don't move it too much. Obviously, the main emphasis for brake bias is the more forward bias you have, the more the front tires are trying to stop for you. So the less grip you may have, but the more grip the rears have. And then vice versa, the more rearward bias you have, the rears are going to be trying to do more. You might have more front grip, but you also risk, locking, and then your overall performance might not be as good. So,
well, I find myself if I go too far rearward, I start spinning out, going in.
exactly.
Yeah.
Like a madman.
Yeah, because you're asking the rear tires to do more then, and then you don't have as much grip to hold the car sideways with.
I'm actually watching Scott right now. Scott, what are you thinking about?
How much crazy rear brake bias I run compared to everybody else.
It's a fact.
Let's look at an onboard.
See, but what I notice is Scott is so much more smooth on all of his inputs than Ryan is. Ryan has adjustments left, right, left, right, left, right.
I have to
you know?
muscle that Ferrari, so that's car
Oh.
to car.
But also some of that might be like something a lot of the guys will talk about is like you want like light hands on the wheel, and that sort of means like Carl and Brandon have sort of said this about me when they watch me drive. Is like they, like Brandon, like it looks like you're doing like a million corrections in the middle of the corner, and it's not that so much. It's more just like I'm not like death gripping the wheel and try to hold it specifically in one spot. I'm letting the feedback move the steering wheel like as you would in real life. Yeah.
I was part of that conversation with you when those guys were talking about it, and I realized what you were doing when we were explaining that to him.
My philosophy is, so there's a couple points. Like one you said about the inputs or whatever. So I drive more like a lot by feel. So I have my force feedback configured to run directly off of the car telemetry. It's not using iRacing's force feedback. It's using telemetry from the vehicle to make the feeling in the wheel. So like when Ryan was talking about feeling like loading up a tire, like I can feel that maximum rotation point because all of a sudden my wheel gets a little bit easy. It feels like there's less feedback or less force because that like the weight is shifting. So it's like the car's starting to rotate, so I don't have to turn as hard. And then the other
Mike,
point,
go ahead. I'm sorry.
I was gonna say the other point too about like Mike said about having a light hand on the wheel. Like those last 2 laps, I want to say I pretty much did both of them steering with just my thumbs in like where the like the rim meets the button box part. Like I'm barely even like my fingers are not even wrapped around the wheel. I'm like holding it so light that I can pick up those little sensations.
G,
Yeah, that's good. I mean, that's the best way the car is going to talk to you, especially through the sim. And that's why I think, diving deeper, I think that a lot of guys in the sim have a better feel for what a car can do once they get used to it, because they only have their hands as those communicators, you know.
Yeah.
We can't feel the weight on the side of our like torso
Body.
from
Yeah,
G-forces
exactly. You
and
only
stuff,
have
so.
hands, yeah. So it gives you sensitive, quick hands.
G, that Mayra thing, is that using the car's telemetry and not iRacing?
I'm not actually 100% sure how that works. The only thing I know is that, so if you guys don't know what he's talking about, is there's this app called Marvin's Awesome iRacing application or something like that, and you use it in place of the iRacing force feedback, and it allows you to separately adjust. So like iRacing's force feedback is like steering column forces only, basically, and the Maria app lets you separately adjust the weight of like the steering column, like loading up from the tires, in the other like extra details you get like from bumps and curbs and things like that.
Oh, that's interesting.
Yeah, so I've been using it for a little while. I kind of like it. I think I like that. I like that you get. Yeah, I like that you can crank up the details a little bit compared to the other forces, and I think it feels a little bit better. The other thing is like, so the other thing it lets you do is that if you have a like not all wheelbases support 360 hertz force feedback in iRacing. Some do, some don't. And the Maria app lets you use 360 on any wheelbase. So like I have a Moza wheelbase which does support 360, but not in iRacing yet. So I can get 360 hertz through that app.
I see. Do you use the steering effects in Marvin's, like the understeer and oversteer?
I do not use those effects because those effects are more just like blanket, like, you know, if the car's understeering, it's gonna always do something, and if the car's oversteering, it's gonna always do something. So like I don't think, for anyone who has like the tiniest amount of experience, I don't think those effects really are gonna do anything for you.
I was going to try to use them. I tried to use it a little bit, but I couldn't adjust the curve to where it's supposed to be. All right, G, do you want to take us for a few laps?
Sure.
Do it. Something that I always kind of have as a mindset for something too is I'm always trying to eliminate wasted. Obviously, it makes sense, wasted time, but I like to call it dead space. So like if you've got a braking zone where the car's slowed down to how slow you need it to be, but you're not at your turning point yet, or the weight hasn't transferred yet, like the hairpin, if you broke too early, and you have dead space in between when you want the car to rotate, chances are you can probably brake a little deeper, 5-10 meters deeper, get the car to rotate where you need it to, and then you just gains time.
Yeah, like so like something DJ EJ says is like you always want to be on one pedal or the other. You don't want to be off both, because otherwise you're just losing time.
You're waiting for something to happen, right? You're acting.
Yeah. So I call it, in my head, I call it dead space. I'm like, oh, I know that corner, I'm struggling, I'm waiting, I'm braking a little too early, I'm trying to eliminate that dead space.
Yeah.
My dead space is always on the out.
Yeah, which is like that's like the worst for lap time.
I always think of it as grip math. Like you have 100% of grip, and if you're using 80% of it for braking at turn-in, you have 20% left you can use for turning. like any given point has to add up to 100. So yeah, if you broke too early, you're not using all 100% of your grip because you're just rolling straight without turning or braking.
Good point. Great point.
The motorcycle track days I did, the one rider coach, he called it the traction triangle.
Yeah,
'Cause he's like,
I like a
"You
lot
have
of
3 things you can deal with.
yeah, like a lot of like car books will talk about traction circle with the tires. Same kind of
Yes, I
thing.
saw- You know what? I saw that in the RC handbook.
Yeah. So I'm starting the lap here. So turn 1, I'm coming up. Like what I'm thinking of is I'm looking at the inside wall, and as I turn in, I'm trying to feel out the rear of the car to see how hard I can lean on it, and then once the rear is there, then I'm looking for the front to get it pointed in.
So you do the same thing Ryan does. Look at that rear view.
Yep.
Around the car.
Yeah, but I'm also a little more conscious of like looking where I need to go, because I would not say Sebring is one of my stronger tracks, so I'm focused on looking where I want to go to make sure that I get there.
Sector 1 times okay.
Do me a favor, like, next 5 or 6 turns, can you just tell me where you're looking at any given moment?
Yeah, so like here, like I'm looking at the first set of cones, that's my brake marker, and then here I'm looking for the curb on the inside, and then here I'm looking at the point, and so now I'm looking at the curb on the inside, and then the cone on the outside, and then the curb on the inside.
I don't want to talk over you. I'm sorry. When you say the curb on the inside, is it a specific point, or are you just looking for your entry point? Are you looking for maximum rotation point? There has to be a specific place you're looking.
Yeah, so for example,
62 times
at the hairpin, I'm looking for there's a little spot on the back side of it that I'm looking for, because I know if I meet the car at that back side of the curb, then I know I've done it right.
Okay. Now that's so, and I think that's all of what I'm trying to say is that's what you're thinking of. You're thinking of where do I want to place the car at its maximum rotation?
Yeah.
Yeah, there's certain visual references and keys of like very specific.
Yeah. So like turn 1 here, I'm gonna like stop. I tried to stop right by it. Maybe I can back up a little bit and not get disqualified. But like,
You've got about 100 yards that I've found.
but there's like it's sort of like right there's like a kink in the wall in turn 1. Like that's what I look at as sort of my turn in point. And then I look at the fence on the inside, and there's a
cone
there's
at the top.
there's a cone at the top, and that's always like the visual reference of like getting out of the corner.
And these are the things you're thinking of while you're racing. These reference points.
Yeah. And then so like here, especially like there's sort of like you see like the curbs for turn 2, the curb starts turning in, and then it comes to this point, like right around here, like you'll see it on, like I'm like waving my mouse over it, but like that's where I'm like that little point is where that's where I'm trying to get the car rotated to, and then it's like the same thing with the next curb and the next curb. There's these little like points that you're trying to get the car to go fast to get the car like rotated around.
And then I think for you, best thing here is focusing on the balance of the car on the way out. So like coming out onto the straight, my main focus is making sure the car is in an okay condition to be on full throttle on my way out. It's like same thing out of the hairpin. Get it rotated and get ready to go, so that right way when you're on the exit of the corner, you can hit the gas and get out of it.
Ryan, really great point, because I think that's a lot of what all of us do is we're trying to still make the turn as we're coming out, and we should be a little more pointed towards the straight than we are towards the wall.
Or do you slam on the gas when you're leaving the turn, or do you feed into it slowly?
I go 50%, slam to 50%, and then I feed it slowly.
Yeah, so that like that's also something that kind of needs to like be different in every corner too. There's like
It, oh,
like some corners that are like these. I do this more in like longer corners. Like those are the corners where you have to like feed it in smoothly to kind of hold a line. Versus like the hairpin might be a corner where you just mash it out of. But either way, I think I saw this in it was an old Top Gear when like Jackie Stewart was trying to teach James May how to go around a track, and what his point was, you don't want to start picking up the throttle until you know you can get to 100% throttle.
Picking up the throttle.
Yeah, so like you don't like once you start getting on the gas, you don't want to have to back off it.
Oh, yeah,
So you're not like stabbing at it, which can really upset the car.
In my head, I visualize as the wheel is coming back to center. That's a smooth motion. That's how your throttle wants to apply. So like coming out of the hairpin, you're straightening your wheel faster, so you can get on the throttle faster and get to that 100% grip level. But if it's like a sweeping turn where you're coming back to center slower, you have to feed the throttle on slower. Because if you step on it, you're gonna overstep your grip level before you're done turning.
I think there's a term called string theory. I think that's the correct term.
yeah, that's what I say. I love string theory. It's the same for braking as it is for get on the gas.
Yeah.
There's a good visual for running the TCR series.
So I've actually never heard that before, so does someone want to explain that to me?
Yeah, I like string theory. Basically, imagine there's a string tied to your foot. For example, let's just do braking. Your left foot for the brake pedal and your hands. So if your foot is all the way extended, your hands have to be straight. And then as you start turning your hands, it's going to pull your foot off the brake.
Okay.
On either side of the wheel that you're turning, it's irrelevant. You're just kind of like...
Yeah. For me, I mainly think of it for braking. Because I think that definitely helps a lot. Because like if you're mashing the brake and you're still turning, then you're just gliding.
You don't ever consciously think string theory, or is that something like if you're struggling, you'll think of that during a race or during a practice?
Not consciously, but I'll go back and look at data and see if there's anywhere. If I'm struggling with a specific corner, I'll see if I'm maybe have a little bit too much brake on for how much I'm turning, and am I limiting the grip there? But eventually, it just kind of becomes second nature. I mean, all of us do it a little bit anyways. It's just refining it and knowing your brake pedal and knowing the feeling between your foot and the back and like how much you're pressing on the brake. There was a drill I saw. It was like if you can make your pedal go to 100% and then 95% and then 90% and then 80, all the way down, and knowing what that feels like for both your leg, your foot, and how you feel pressed against the seat, and then that's like you can memorize that feeling of what that's like, what you're feeling rather than just your foot, but also your whole body too. So it's more receptors, more sensors to what you're doing.
One of the other things that I'm noticing, both you and Mike, not Scott as much, and certainly not me as much, but you adjust your wheel going in to make sure you hit perfectly. Like, usually I'm just smooth around the corner because I don't know how to adjust it appropriately, but you're constantly fine-tuning your turn in and your coming out, like with your
Sector 2 times.
Yeah, because as you're speeding up and slowing down and the balance of the car is changing, the limit is always changing. So we're sort of changing as the limit is changing.
And it's not just changing smoothly in; it's changing coming back, changing coming because you're at the limit of the car. I see.
Yeah, and some of that is also like especially like for me on exit, like a lot of like some of that'll just be the feedback talking to me, and I'm just sort of letting that happen.
You're feeling it, yeah. I got you. All right, guys, I have to walk away for about 5 or 10 minutes at tops. Continue doing your thing, make the video, and maybe when you guys are done
Sector
putting
3
down
times
laps, we
quick.
can get more ideas. Maybe Scott and I can run maybe 2 or 3 laps talk us into what we're doing wrong, you know,
Yep.
and people can have an example of what's of the stuff that we're not supposed to be doing. All right. I'll be back momentarily.
Sector 1 times okay.
I haven't driven GT cars in so long.
Yeah.
It's pretty much just been LMP2 and Formula.
I'm sort of used to it because we've been doing so much
62 time is quick.
practice for Nords lately and all the
Oh,
NEC races.
Yeah.
I was actually sort of thinking in my head like I sort of had a good maybe I'll even do this once a little later once we're done here, but like I had a good like demonstration or way to like explain some of the things I was thinking about with this little section of the Nürburgring.
Hmm.
3 laps of fuel.
Because there's this one
Sector 3 times okay.
I know Ryan has no idea what I'm talking about. I don't know if Scott does either, but there's a section right after Hoacht when you start coming back down the hill. That's like the highest point of the track. It's like just after the carousel. In that, like the next little complex of corners is a pretty good area to show like how it's like a nice combination of like understeer and balancing the car with the brakes and also using all of the track as well.
I consider that whole section of Nürburgring as fourth gear simulator. Because at least with I think the 124-hour run I did with Square, we used the GT4. I guess it was just the Cayman at the time, and it was like you just set it in fourth gear for that whole section.
Yeah, it's like just before. It's like in the GT3, it's like third gear through almost all of that section.
So I'm already on VRS, popping open your telemetry from the laps you were just doing.
Yeah, I think like especially the very last lap that I just did was probably a pretty good lap from memory. I think like 2 flat is a pretty good lap around Sebring, especially for how warm it is.
Yeah, it'll change based on BOP and stuff like that. Because I remember one Sebring 12-hour, we were in like 58s on the way in. They're like, oh, BOP.
Yeah.
And it was like, oh, shit, 2 minutes.
Yeah.
I can't look at advanced anymore. I let my subscription lapse.
Whoops.
But I always go in here and I look for the tire slip angle versus your yaw rate, and I look to see where your car's apex is versus your racing line apex. Because they don't always line up. Like your driving line apex may be ahead or behind of where your, like you guys were talking about, your maximum rotation point.
Yeah, for the most part, your apex of where you want the car to apex is before the actual apex of the corner, because you want to be on the gas already.
Yeah. And since he sort of brought that up, I don't know if you're better with using the telemetry tools, Ryan, because I know like Like I'm terrible. Like I never look at any telemetry at all, just because I'm like the way I'm so used to figuring out how to get a car to go around the corner from RC racing, like just by pure visual and lap times. That
Yeah.
like I don't like we don't have any telemetry at all. So I've never used it, so I'm terrible at using it. Like I just feel my way around the track basically.
Yeah, it's probably a little bit of both. I like to compare my optimals to my best, or even my average time. So I could see like what I did that worked best for me versus what I did that didn't work or what I thought was working or etc. So like when I was at Willow comparing a couple lines, I tried different corners in a few different gears, and I looked at what gave me the best, like the most optimal time through there, and then I would just stick to that and try to perfect that.
Something I use as kind of a cheat, I guess, for like I'm spectating Ryan right now in the far chase cam, and I have it so I can see the full track ahead of the car. Like I tweaked the camera a little bit so I
Yeah.
can see pretty well, and I'll look to see, like if I'm checking one of the VRS coaching laps, I'll look to see where the car seems the most at an angle to the camera. Like I can see the most of the side of the car, and I'll pause it there, and I'll use the frame forward, frame back to find the exact point that it's twisted the most, and that's usually where the car is turning the hardest because the camera's lagging it. And then I can say, okay, wherever the car is right there, that's what I'll try to shoot for, making the center of my turn. Like, okay, from that point forward, I'm now starting to work on accelerating. Up till that point, I'm trying to work on decelerating. And that's kind of a tool you can use without having to look at VRS at all. It's just like you can do it of any car that you're in a session with. Just find the spot in the turn where it's turned the most and pause it, and like, okay, that whatever marker is there on the track is like what I'll shoot for.
Something, it's a small term. I'm always trying to hook the car around.
Yep.
Not necessarily go around, but like hook it around.
Yeah, like in the RC world, some people will use. I've heard some people call that like they want the car to curl around the corner, or I always talk about I want the car to finish the corner.
Yeah. It's a very professional way to put it.
Like I know, and I know especially like myself with RC racing, like I'll give up as much entry as I can to get as much finish as I can around the corner. Is all
Oh yeah.
that it's the car like you always have better lap times that way. Like because I always feel like as a driver I can manage the turn in with the steering however I want, and then but the car can only finish the corner so well, so I always want the maximum amount of finish from the
Grip on
chassis.
way out.
Yeah.
Yeah. Really, that's the main point. You want to maximize the grip on the way out, but also minimize the time loss on the way in.
Yeah.
I'm curious how you have how you handle braking in RC. Like, do you have a set point of brake percentage set into your ESC and then tweak it with like your dual rate, or do you use drag brake, or
There's so at least for stock racing, I don't use any drag brake. And then as far as like the actual brakes go, it's a lot of like combination of like the endpoint and the radio and the settings and the speed control. But what I'm looking for is I want to be able to, because you have such little throw in the trigger or the pedal basically, that I just want to be able to slam it all the way, and I don't want to see the car sliding.
Yep.
So because then I know I've gone past the limit of the tires.
it's like dialing back your max brake force on.
Yeah. Like that's really the only, like that's the end goal. Like, you know, there's a million, especially with all the like variable PWM stuff that the speed controls have now. There's like a million different things you can change to make that happen and maximize that. But the end goal is like I want to be able to hit it as quickly as I can and not see the car slide. And that's probably, you know, in that world, that's probably the number one thing I see people have wrong, is they always have way too much brake, and anytime they touch the brakes, the car just slides. So that they're giving up grip everywhere. And even it's a little bit the same in sim racing. Like when I watch most of the other guys drive, like, you know, the easy thing to see is they're braking too late and using too much brake, and they're sliding past the corner.
When it comes to the GT3 guys, or GT3 cars, do you guys run the ABS so it intervenes more or so it intervenes less?
To be honest, I generally just run whatever the setup shop set it at is what I normally run, and I don't really change it too much. Like I'm a little bit lazy in that regard.
Yeah, same here.
I'll say in general, most people will tell you in iRacing you want to use less because of the way the tire model works in iRacing. I think it's like when the ABS kicks in, it's like micro locking and putting more heat in the tires, so you don't want as much ABS. And people will also tell you for GT3s to cap the maximum brake force you put in. Like that used to be a very like hush hush thing people talked about, because you had to like dig into the pedal software or like the INI files of the car to do that. But iRacing gives you an easy option there. Like I'm showing it on my screen now for anyone who watches this later, but like they have the max range thing. You know, some people will tell you that you need to turn it down to like 85 or 80% for GT3s to avoid using the ABS so much. I do it a little bit for GT3s. I have it at 90%, but for a car like the LMP2, I don't do any of that.
Yeah, I run mine on usually the lowest click before it disables it, just because it'll take like 2 laps to get used to where that point is and get a feel for it, but then you have more of a feel for braking as opposed to having it set on the highest and then you just mash on the brake and it's going to extend your braking length out because it's only braking half the time and locking half the time.
Yeah. And something that's a little interesting to see, like if you need some like third-party overlays to see this, or maybe they show you this in the VRS telemetry, I don't really know. But like in my eye overlay, I have the inputs graph. In the inputs, it shows you in the brake trace in that inputs graph where the ABS is kicking in. Like it actually shows up as like you see the red brake trace, and it'll have like white on top of it when the ABS is kicking in. So if I just, for anyone who may or may not watch this later, like if I
The pit exit is clear. Push now. Black flag.
like if I hit the brakes real hard, like it shows these like little white bits on the brake trace, and that's where the ABS is actually kicking in.
So that'll update if you change your ABS settings?
Yeah. Yeah, it's a pure, like it's pulling that straight out of the car's telemetry, I think. And like normally what it ends up looking like in a GT3 car is like you hit the brake really hard initially, and it's all just red, and then like as you're at the peak of the grip, you see the the ABS starts to kick in, and then what you'll see from most drivers is that that's like the exact point where they start releasing the brake pressure. So you see the little like white trace on the way down of the brake trace, and not on the way up. So that's sort of a easy way to see like you're on the limit of the tire or not.
Yeah. 50 degrees C. What are we doing?
Yeah, Murph made the track lava.
Jesus Christ.
It's the middle of the 12 hours all over again.
Oh my god, that was crazy. I don't know. I'd rather have lava or like rain. I was gonna ask if anyone in Square wanted to do the Majors Garage Le Mans 24. That's like next month next month sometime. But then I saw in their posting of it, they're like, because we didn't get to have this race's rain last year, we want to celebrate. We want to throw it back 30 years and celebrate the rainiest Le Mans ever from 1995, which was like 18 hours of rain or something like that. So their race is going to have like 18 hours of rain in it. Like hard pass on that. And like rain at Le Mans especially is not fun. I was actually, it's like this this past weekend was the last round, the most recent NEC round, and there was rain in some of the races, and I was actually surprised how not bad that was for the most part. Really?
Yeah.
I'm sure they did a really good job developing that one too.
Yeah, it didn't rain super heavy either for most of them, but driving the car around in the rain was like not a miserable experience.
I've been getting a little used to it. I didn't hate it as much as I thought I did. Like, I don't like it, but I'm fine with it, you know?
Yeah.
Like, I'd prefer to be able to push in the dry, but...
Yeah.
Like, I ran even just in a practice session, I ran a wet Monza session in LMP2. In practice, I ran a full stint, and I wasn't even thinking about it. I was just like, okay, whatever.
Yeah. I think Monza's not so bad as long as you just have to watch for the line in the braking zone in turn 1.
Yeah, that's literally it. Because on the left side, there's a puddle that's too heavy you can't get into, and then on the right, you just go to the right too much, you're on the line. So you have to like thread the needle for the braking zone of where you can brake.
Yeah.
Otherwise, you're all the way to the right. Rear tires are just so gone.
Yeah. I always find that hard to manage in the Ferrari in the first place, and then you add the track is lava, and it's
pretty rough.
Yeah.
Ferraris are like alright. It's a little. It's easy to drive. I'd say that though.
Yeah, normally like I'd say the defining characteristic of the Ferrari is just general amounts of understeer. So
Yeah.
Boy, it sure is hot out here.
yeah, we were just commenting on how you made the track lava for this.
Oops, my bad. I put it at like 67 degrees.
Celsius, maybe.
Yeah.
You and your metric.
Yeah.
I might see too.
It's really hard to think of string theory and a good brake trace, a good trail brake.
Yeah, Murph, I posted a good visual in the
I saw it. It's fantastic.
the driver lounge.
Wow.
Yeah, I'd say that's not exactly something you want to be consciously thinking of as you're racing. It's more like if you're just doing like a test drive by yourself and trying to work on some things.
Yeah, it gets you your muscle memory. I'm doing it right now, and it's fantastic.
Very good. I'm gonna follow you around.
What's that?
I'm gonna follow you around. You're good.
Oh, okay. I'm really trying to get to, you know, that what you guys are calling that edge on the limit.
That was pretty good. You could use more track on the outside for that one, but your apex and exit are really good.
Yeah, you're following Shoemaker and not Murph,
No.
by the way.
I don't know. Wrong Scott.
There's too many of us.
Oh wait, Scott's going?
Yep.
Yep.
Actually, I want to watch Scott go as you guys critique him, okay?
I'm almost out of gas, so I got 2 laps following him.
Oh, you're following physically, okay.
Yeah.
I just get in the cockpit with him.
So like right now I'm in Ryan's cockpit looking at Shoemaker. Right now they're demonstrating the million different lines of sunset.
Yep. Yeah, you can take them however you want.
I turned off that setting. I've somehow found it. I don't know what the hell it is to get that sun glare. You know when the sun's going down.
It's HDR you have to turn off.
That was fast.
You can use more of it on the exit.
Yeah, and like there, like he didn't use all. It looked like you were using more of the tracker on the entry to open the corner up.
you can apex a little earlier there. You've got a lot of, you've got, I would say, 10 to 15% more front grip there.
And how do you accomplish that? Like more brake?
Yeah, less brake.
Oh, less brake.
Less brake, you can feel and just feel the fronts more.
Okay.
See how I'm closing them in the corners?
Yeah.
That means there's grip in the front there to be had. Whether that be because the balance is better or whatever reason.
Could that be because I have my brake bias 5% back from the setup?
What do you run? What are you at?
It just shows negative 0.5 on the Porsche dash. I don't know what that actual percentage is.
I think on the Porsche, like 0 is 50%. I would say like most Porsche setups are generally between 51 and 52 front. But
I feel like I
Weight
don't move this one
back.
back as far as I do other cars, just because I guess it has more rear weight with the rear engine.
yeah,
Yeah.
but like to Ryan's point, it's possible you might have the brake bias too far back because you're asking the rear, like you're not utilizing all of the front tires in braking.
We've been yelling at Scott for 2 years to move it up a little bit.
Yeah,
I like to
feel it?
drift.
Yeah, it's got. I think you got a lot more pace mid corner though. I'm not even talking about entry, just mid corner. Just like on this next one, try to understeer out and like run wide. Like turn now and just go. Oh, I'm sorry, I touched you.
but like that's
Did I touch you?
but like what Ryan just said is a good thing to do. Also, like another thing, like DJ EJ will tell people to do is like they get in the corner and he's like, I want you to pick up the throttle so early that you hit the wall on the outside. Like keep doing that. Like keep trying until you actually do that.
Because it feels like I'm understeering into the turns. So I guess that sets me up to like feel like I have to wait to get on the power exiting the turn.
Turn now and then just go. There you go. That's a little better.
Yeah, so that time I was on the throttle before I crossed the inside curb.
Yep, that's the goal.
Well, that time I did it too early and it pushed me really wide.
Yeah.
Yeah, but you see that feeling though of like, okay, oh, there's where the car starts to push.
Yep.
Just be 1/10 back from that, and then that's right where you want to be all the time.
Hey guys, I can't thank you enough for the coaching session. Really, really appreciate it.
Woohoo! That got close.
Oop.
Gas.
Oh, is that what happened?
No, I spun and then I had
Oh.
0.02 of a lap left, and I was like, okay. I'm gonna run to the restroom real quick. I will be right back.
All right.
Ooh. I have to confess, I also tweaked my car setup a little bit just to make it rotate a little better.
Well, I mean, that's some of it, right?
I think it's just because it's so hot. It feels like the car slides everywhere, so I want it to be a little more edgy.
That makes sense.
But I have
Are you running?
the minimum amount of toe out and the least amount of toe in. How do I phrase this? The least amount of toe out on the front for it to pass, and the least amount of toe in on the rear for it to pass.
Yeah, I mean the rear, I'd say that's a pretty standard setting for GT3s anyway. Like they always run the minimum amount of toe in for the rear, but toe out is generally like that can vary a lot setup to setup.
Yeah, because this setup was, I think, a 2024 VRS setup, and the rear toe-in was like 7mm on each side. And I
So what that was so this is probably from like uh, season 2 or season 1, because in from season 2 to season 3 they updated the suspension in the Porsche and it broke all the old setups.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So
you can check my
what actually
setup.
so like what actually happened in your setup was the rear ride height was massively different, and that change in ride height caused a big change in the toe-in.
Gotcha.
Yeah, the way you fix that is if you see that, what you actually do is you lower the rear back down to whatever makes the toe-in like 1 or 3 total for the Porsche.
Scott, how loud do you have your tire volume turned up? Can you hear them at all?
I cannot.
You should
I
turn
can hear mine, but this engine, not so much over it. I think for this car, I would have to turn the engine sound down a bit.
Okay.
yeah, so
Because like
you're-
I'm running on board, I can like barely hear them.
you're probably about to say the same thing that I am, and that you want to turn the tire volume all the way up.
Yeah, I always max that.
If you can hear the tires, you can tell you're leaning on them. That means like right now you're just rolling. See how much grip you had there? You turned and it kept going. Even
Mhm.
if that was, you know what I mean? Like there's grip there. And if
There's
they're not
more
making
grip
any
there.
noise, then you can roll it
So-
through, and yes, sure, that's great for tire wear.
So I should be able to hear noise.
A little bit, yeah.
Yeah.
'Cause if you don't hear anything, then you're not using them at all.
Gas now. There you go.
Nope.
Oh, my fault. But like you had pace mid corner. I would say that's like the biggest thing we could focus on is mid corner speed.
Murph knows from RC, but I tend to overdrive everything, so I like feel like I dive too into the turn, and then I'm trying to turn
Slow
too
mid.
hard and understeer.
Yeah.
That gets all jumped up in RC.
Yeah, see, that's a
Get
that-
out of it.
that's a super common thing I see in RC.
There you
Is everyone just overdriving the snot out of everything. And the other thing I see a lot of that can also apply to this as well is like everyone turns in too late, so then they just
Gas now.
understeer everywhere because
Yeah.
they've blown the corner, and now they're trying to make up for it with steering and going. The tires just can't do it.
Are you having trouble getting around that corner without the rear coming around?
A little bit. Well, not the
You'll-
rear, but it like I feel like I have to lift because it's understeering wide.
Maybe try to set yourself up to be pointed more left, because that should be flat. You should feel like
Yep.
the rear in that corner is trying to swing around. And then in that corner, you should feel like the car's wanting to push you out to that outside corner, push you out to the outside of the curb, and use all of it.
So would you say make myself pointed further left coming out of there?
So I'm pretty sure you're talking about the section between Collier and Tower, which is like on that first tight right-hander, like you want to set the right-hander up so that you're more towards the right end of the track, so it's easier for you to get to the left side of the track and open that corner up to
There you
carry
go,
the
gas.
speed around
Yeah,
it.
there you go. Nice.
Man,
It's like you're intentionally like not 100% maximizing that hairpin so that the next faster corner is easier.
Gotcha. So in those 2 sectors, I'm up half a second already.
wow.
Gas now. You're good. If you ease onto it, you'll start to feel the front push instead of just when you're getting on it too aggressively. That's when the rear will start to come around on you.
Gotcha.
There you go. Now gas now. You should be flat all the way to the corner. Try to hit that inside curve. There you go. Nice. And then get out to the outside. Yep. There you go.
It feels like I'm sliding so much, but just that sector, I'm up 2/10.
And that and that like sliding that you sort of get it like that's like the neutral steer that Suelio talks about, where like it's not like the front, it's not just the front, it's not just the rear, it's like the whole car is just kind of
Yeah. Which is good. It's not necessarily a bad thing.
yeah that
The balance
It
is
feels
right
like
in the
that's
middle.
that's the on edge part.
yep.
It's like I'm 4-wheel steering going into the.
Yeah, because that like that's the point where like you're maximizing all of the grip from both ends of the car.
Yeah. You ever see the video of like, oh, this is about Carroll Shelby saying, oh, this is Ken Miles. He's gonna show you the 4-wheel drift around Willow Springs. You know what I mean? And he's just driving a Cobra and the wheel's straight, but the car's going all the way around like the big 180 turn. That's like holding that balance the whole way.
So that coached lap was my personal best this session by 9/10.
Wow.
Nice.
Now it's
Ease on.
Murph's turn, so I'm gonna.
No. Do your thing.
Nope, I did mine. I got into the 203.
Got the data.
Calculating,
Well,
processing.
It was
That's the
funny one of
next
the other
thing.
day. The Rush guys are about to be at Road Atlanta this weekend, so I've been practicing with a bunch of them, and they hit me up. There was a group of like 4 or 5. I'm like, yo, come through on a lap. We need your data. And I went in. I did 5 laps, and they're like, all right, you're good. Get out. Just for the VRS team thing, and they're like, all right, get out of here. You're good.
What car do they use in iRacing that's for that?
So we've been using a mix of the GR86 for the gearing. We've practiced with 3. So the GR86 just for the gearing is pretty similar. Top speed similar. Obviously you won't get the downforce.
Yeah.
Then the Formula 1000, SF 1000, I think. Is that what it is?
Like the Super Formula Light.
No, it's the Rays F1000. Let's see, I don't even remember what car. it
Raise
is.
1600.
No, hang on.
No?
Let me get VRS pulled up here. I'll let you know 'cause I'll have the data from it. We use like 3 because there's no like for like comparison. So I like to tell anybody who I'm helping out, I'm like, get as many different angles so you're prepared for any situation. So I like to use a car that's similarly geared, and then I like to use a car that's similar downforce, and then I like to use a car that's really fast to keep my eye in.
Yep.
Okay, so we did the USF 2000.
Okay.
We detune it to about 90-95% power because it's a little quick. And then we also use the SCCA Spec Racer.
Interesting.
Probably the closest, like for like, I guess. But that'll get you, if you have a really loose car, a really rotating car, that's what that's gonna feel like. But realistically, it'll feel more like the USF 2000. and then the actual pace of it is closer to, track spec GR86, I guess.
The Spec Racer thing, is that the one that the Ford that looks like
Yeah,
a
the
shoe?
Spec Racer Ford.
That one's probably the closest comparison as far as lap time goes for iRacing. I mean, obviously it depends, because like the Rush has got a good amount of downforce for what it is, but it just is so fucking slow in
Yeah.
a straight line. Don't get me wrong, the first time you get in, you hit the gas, you're like, oh shit. But
Yeah.
like once you get used to it, and then relative to like other stuff that's better in a straight line, you're like, oh my god.
Because what does that have in it? Like a GSX R1000 engine?
Yeah, yeah. But then I like to run, just to get my eye in a little, so to be a little quicker. I run like GT4. I like to run that in prep. I feel like that's a better mix. It'll be a little quicker and then a little similar because you still got some downforce. Obviously, it's gonna be bigger and a little bit more clunky, but
Is the Radical, I guess, too quick? Like the
Yeah,
the
Yeah,
the SRE?
that was the first thing I thought about also, but they would need like the SR3 or something like that
Yeah.
to be
if they had
close.
the SR3, that'd be the best because that's pretty close. It's just
Oh,
a little bit
a little bit more powerful.
more powerful and a little bit better aerodynamically balanced. Like the
Yeah.
Rush it looks cool, but it's still a little boxy.
Yeah. Yeah, like even like the SR8 and the SR10 are way too fast.
Yeah.
It's definitely good if you want to go around and be like shitting yourself for the whole lap, but and then
Or
it'll
if I grab your setup, I'm gonna quick try it.
make everything else feel really slow in comparison, which is a good thing. But
Yeah, yeah. I always do that. I always run something crazy, like just last minute. I won't think about the field too much, but I'll run like a IndyCar or something there. Cause like this is how fast my brain's gonna be feeling like it's going, cause like the actual adrenaline of it.
yeah,
Just to keep the eye in, and it helps you pick up on your visual cues that you're actually gonna be looking for.
and that's actually something I've told a few people in the RC world too. Like as they're starting out, like run a motor that's like you can't drive it like just in practice, just so you like it'll help you like slow yourself down when you go back and run stock or something like that.
Yeah. All right, Murph. See how you got a little push there, which was good. But try to control that push to hook you around the corner rather than pushing mid corner.
Throw a little more brake on that.
That's kind of the feeling that you're looking for there, but not as much. It'll be a little bit more gentle with it. Keep it more on the front.
Holy cow, this setup is so much better.
Oh, the one I shared?
Yeah, I'm half a second up on my warm-up lap.
Yeah, I could see it visually when I switched from your car to Murph's car. Your car looked like it was like a monster truck in the rear.
Yeah. Gas now. There you go. You don't have to swing as wide as you are right now. You can keep it a little bit more straight on that one.
Okay.
It's a minimal thing, but see how you ran wide on the exit?
Oh my god, this
Chances are
car
if you
actually turns.
wide on the exit, then you turned in a little too soon, and you maybe had some dead space that you were trying to get rid of by turning in, and then you'll run wide on the exit.
Okay. So turn a little. And that's one of my things is I used to turn around the corner. Oh,
That's good. Next throttle. There you go. You had it. See that balance where you felt like the rear was going to come around? If you
I
can
did.
hold that and keep that momentum pointed towards the outside of the track where you're aiming to go for the ideal line, that's like perfect.
so that little swing, but try to push after that.
Yeah, so maybe not as dramatic of the swing, but that feeling of what it was about to do, is just keep that the direction you want it to go, and that's maximizing the time.
Okay, let me try
And then
that.
for this, gradually come over. You don't need to be at the line right away. Just gradually come over. Feel the front. Feel the front.
Yeah.
See how much more grip you had in the front there, because it turned in.
It turned right in. That was really
Yeah.
great. I think my steering's a little fuckery.
Bent it a little bit. That wall, if you barely nick it, it's like, yeah, you're done.
Yeah.
Here we go.
Get a warm up lap in, and then I'll be on board after that. Tires,
Yeah.
they'll be
Take
cold.
time.
I'll give you some visual references on your warm up though. You do you're hitting all the right spots. Your lines are good, and you can ride that curb like you just did right there. You can do that. These GT cars are trucks.
They really are.
Which is crazy to see, but if you ever watch Porsche Cup and watch how much those guys are just slinging them around, it's like, oh my god.
But that is something important to know on the track, like what curbs you can abuse, what curbs you can't.
And that'll help a lot. Like at Road Atlanta, there's one curb that you can't hit the front of it, but if you miss the very point of where it starts and get on it after, it's going to open up a corner so much.
Yep. Oops.
See,
Yeah.
you got pushy there. You pushed out wide because you didn't turn in early enough. So then you were already pushing out wide when you needed the grip to turn.
I'm trying to do that on edge thing, but I'm trying to do it with cold tires, and I'm an idiot. Let me get my first lap in, and I'll stop. You know.
Yeah. For first laps, just get your visuals in, get your
Yep.
references, emphases. Emphasis.
Emphases.
Emphases. There you
Emphasize.
go. Thank you. Yeah, that's what I was gonna say next. Like for this corner, I'm trying to hook it around the point of the apex, hook it all the way around, and then I'm fine riding the curb here to open up the next corner. And then end of the blue curb, I'm starting my braking to turn in to keep the car balanced onto the way to the exit, so I can get a good exit straight here.
Okay.
It's one thing into another, and each aspect flows into each other, and that's how you get a nice smooth lap. And like here, car rotated, the nose is past the point of the apex, I'm good. Throttle all the way out. And then here I'm thinking hug the apex here and then smooth around the corner here. And then I'm thinking hook it around this corner to be in the middle. And then I'm flat. So more turn here, try to get to that left curb. You're gonna have cold tires, so it'll be tough, but then for that corner, I'm thinking late apex after that, like right at there. Late apex to set up a good straight. This corner, I'm thinking, yeah, front. Where's the front at? How much grip do I have? How much gonna keep turning? Do I have front grip? I can get on the gas. Yeah, see, like that's perfect. You'll
Yep.
feel it understeer
that
as you're
felt
getting
good.
into it. Yeah.
That Ryan, that was good.
Here, rear's rotated. Okay, where's the front? How much front do I have? I've got front. Get on the gas. A little bit. Easy, and then full throttle once you know you have it.
Okay, let's put down a lap.
Yeah, I'll show you do it.
Still a little cold.
That was good. That was really good.
Yep.
I'm trying to get that rear slide, and I'm getting it.
You're right there. And hook it around the apex. There you go. You can get on throttle a little earlier there.
Okay.
There you go. Ease on the gas now. There you go.
Oh, that fucking felt
That was
good.
really good. Yeah,
Yep.
that was really good. There you go. You know why
It
you
was
felt
okay.
like you got too much curb on the apex of that one corner?
I did.
Overslowed a little bit. Overslowed a little bit. The front had grip, so it turned in. There you go. Find the front. There you go.
That's better.
There you go. There you go. Ease
Fine.
over. You don't have to get all the way over.
Yeah.
Oh, that was good. Really nice.
Money.
There you go. Nice.
Yep.
Throttle now.
Let's slow.
Yeah. A little earlier on the throttle.
Little dead space there, right?
Yep.
A
Dead
little
zone.
bit on the exit. Nice. As soon as you feel like that front of the car is pointed in the general direction of where you can get on the gas.
I am a little slow on the gas, aren't I?
You're getting better. You're gonna have to hook it hard here. Yep. There you go. Nice. There you go. Nice.
Ah!
Get on it. Get on it. You got it. There you go. See how the balance perfectly flowed from one to the other?
It did. I was a
Exactly
little
what you're
slow
looking
going
for.
into the last turn. God damn it.
That's alright.
Yeah.
That corner is such a pain.
Yeah.
I fucked it up.
You're good. And the rear's
pushed
coming
me the whole
around there because you're turned in, you got the balance on the left side as you're braking, so that's gonna put a lot of load on the out. It's gonna get the left rear really light. There you go.
Better?
That's better. Yep.
It's like he
See how
was.
easily you got to the right side of the track though? You didn't feel like the car was struggling to stay on it though? That means you have a little bit of margin.
Yeah. I was just about to say, like, he was telling Shoemaker, like, here, like, get on the gas, like, pick up the gas earlier until you feel the car, like until you literally push off the track, like that corner, like, pick up the gas earlier until you literally like bounce off that curb on the outside. Yeah. Yeah, like that.
Turned in early and then too much throttle, yeah, a little bit.
Yeah.
Well, that's okay though, because that gets me my borders.
Your idea, yep.
Yeah.
There's so much wheel adjustment when I feel like I do that.
Mhm. Nice. There you go, throttle. Ooh.
I got a little squidgy on the ass on that.
There's
If you
still,
ease into it a little bit, it'll behave a little better.
there's still,
Ease into the throttle off of that.
Yeah, so that corner, you really kind of want to get on throttle before you start turning heavily, because that'll, once you turn too much and get on throttle, that's going to unsettle it too.
Nope, I missed it. Dude, I did a 202 flat. Dude, Shoemaker did a 1-1, a 201.
Yeah, optimal's down to 201.1. I want to try to get that into the twos. This setup feels like a quali
go.
compared to that other one.
I'm
See how
trying to
you're
use.
sliding? No, you didn't need time through the middle of the corner. You're fine. You could just get on it right towards the end.
yeah, like you were,
Half of the battle of getting fast is knowing what you're already doing right. Like maybe,
Yeah, like-
maybe you don't need to go 5 meters deeper into the braking zone. Maybe you need to tidy up the back of it.
yeah, like you were already like setting up the exit of that corner the way you needed to. You just needed to start picking up the gas earlier versus like there you just went in like you're just carried, too much speed through the corner.
Gotcha.
Like the way I think about it is like I'm not trying to like carry 1,000,000 miles an hour through the apex speed, and I'm trying to make the next straightaway as long as possible.
That makes sense. All right. There's 1,400 things in my head now because this is what I do.
Yeah, just one thing. This one, we're just picking up feel. That's honestly going to be the most important thing for you, is just the feel and learning what feels fast. And so for me, this is something that I've been working on. I'm just finding the limit of the front, because I learned that I was getting the car turned in fine, but I was using too much of the rear on the entry. That's like when you guys always ask, oh, what gear are you in? Are you in fourth or third? I'm like, oh, I'm in third. And you guys are, oh, I'm always in fourth. I was using that extra gear to turn the car more to compensate for the fact that I wasn't using all the front.
I think that's why I run my brake bias so far back. Kind of the same thing. Instead of engine braking, though, it's just my foot's on the brake.
Your foot's on it, yeah. Are your gear shifts a little slower, like downshift?
Yeah,
I mean, they kind of have to be if you're running rear bias.
and I'll also
There you go, good gas. Ride the curb. Ooh.
yeah, I'll take corners in
Throttle
lower
down.
gears than other guys do too.
Okay, yeah. That's how I used to just manually try to get it to rotate, by taking an extra gear. Because when you're downshifting, you're moving the bias even farther back,
Yep.
Why the fuck was that so slow?
Probably a little conservative,
Yeah.
but it's fine.
I mean, the
Now
time is
when
going to
I'm-
be the same.
Well, your tires now, think about it, you've been running, I don't know how many laps, but it's
You're
80 degrees C. You're going to be losing grip now. Even if you'd be going faster, you'll be losing grip.
you're 5 laps in on a 50C track. It's always gonna, after like 2 or 3 laps, you're gonna start going slower.
All right, guys, I gotta go make some dinner.
All right. Thanks, guys. Appreciate
But
the help.
yeah, no, I mean, you guys can keep holding on. I'm just letting you know I gotta hop off. But it's fun. I like, being able to help out. Good practice for me too. So, but all right, guys, have a good one. Till the next one. Looking forward to the notes. Looking forward to watching the tape back. See what we can do. And looking at some
All right.
data after this too.
Yeah, that's the one I want to do. Is in the next couple of weeks, do some telemetry.
For sure. Yeah, that'd be good. So, all right, guys. I'll see you.
Good night.
Take it
See
easy,
ya.
Ryan.
Then we got to do one of these for Dirt Oval.
Good luck with that. I have no idea.
I don't know how it set up the car at all, but I like driving it.
Scott, what's your optimal?
201.02.
Damn, mine is a 201.2.
I'm gonna get some colder tires because I think I'm on like lap 10 or 12 of this stint.
that was great.
I'm glad you
And
glad you guys were able to get something good out of this.
we did, and I'll be honest with you, Mike. This wasn't just for our benefit. This is going to help all of the guys. Once you put the video out and share it with the Square guys.
Yep.
Hopefully, next time I can get a good storyboard going and maybe a little bit of copy, and we'll have a little more refined of a product.
Yeah. And something I think I mentioned while you were gone too is I feel like it's harder for me to talk about stuff like this around Sebring because I feel like I personally don't feel I'm very good at Sebring.
Mhm.
But like I was thinking I was telling them like there's this little section of the Nordschleife that's like a good spot to like I can show like how you balance the car, point the car, use all the track like all in like one nice little like 3-4 corner section.
That's fantastic. In fact, Nordschleife, especially with the 24 coming up, maybe we do a little section by section video.
Yep.
Of that. So, very cool. I'm going to take a 5-minute break and then maybe go practice and run around for a little while.
Yep. I'm gonna hop off here and I'll start getting the video uploaded.
Okay, sounds great, Mike.
Cool.
Yep.
Bye now.
Have a good one, guys.
See ya.
Scott, I'll be back if you're going to practice for a little bit.
Yeah, I'll be here for a little bit yet.
All right, partner.